Right, let's turn off the overlay. Or the amazing, extremely accurate picture. Where the hell did I put it? There we go. Alright, what do we have here? Carrier plus DDs. Well, this already means that you... Whoa! Damn, that was so loud, TK. Chill out. Shut up and take my replay. Oh wow, look at this clan in the bottom right again. Anyway, first of all, there's a carrier and there's 3 DDs. The fact that there's 3 DDs in this game automatically means that your Chapayev is already significantly more valuable than the enemy Kutuzov. The map is also pretty damn good for radar, because ideally you want to get into a position near sea. You can get behind the islands here, or back here, and you can radar all of the cap, and you can support your team really well from behind the islands. So ultimately a really good start. I would push straight into A and cap. You should be running Concealment Expert. You are. So you're running the build I recommend, I hope, because your concealment is 10.2. Because your concealment is so good, you could move straight to B. You don't actually have to take this kind of safe route that you're taking. You could move to B and help them cap it faster, because the faster you cap, the bigger the points advantage you get by capping it before the enemy does. Also, the one thing that makes the Chapayev so damn good is that this concealment is actually better than the radar. And this is very important, because if you get spotted, you can automatically counter radar, and you will spot any DDs that are spotting you will always get radared in return. So I think going through B would be significantly better here, and not only would you help them cap B faster, but as you sail across towards C here, you could probably catch a DD on the way and get some really good information with a radar.
I think I'm much more humble than you
Beetle,
understand.
thank you for the 8 months. So I do disagree a bit here. You could have helped them. In fact, the enemy team is sending a lot of forces into their cap. So as you can see, the enemy is capping their cap before you are capping yours. And that is the advantage of sending multiple people in there. Still, you're playing it very safe, which is okay. But I mean, especially in a game like this where the enemy only has 1 battleship. So all you really need to keep track of is the North Carolina on the minimap. The risk of being devastated is very, very small. Also, by going this way, you can also help intercept any planes that are coming your way, because they do have a carrier, which is a significant thing to keep in mind. This Latvian beer is actually pretty damn good. Right, pushing towards C with your team, that's fine. You should probably be telling your team to chill. There's no reason for them to be pushing in. I hope they're chilling and not taking it too aggressive. Note that your Bismarck is not with you, so keep that in mind. If the enemy battleship is here, you will probably be forced to play a bit more defensive, because you don't have the countering force that is your own battleship to help. Not worth shooting. I like estimating the speed with the torps. That's good. That's something I always highlight. This isn't worth shooting. Not worth shooting. Not at all. I wouldn't take the shot. I disagree with that heavily. Paula, thank you for the 7 months. Why do I disagree with that? The odds of doing any significant damage at this range is extremely small. The odds of doing almost any damage at all is extremely small. What you did do, though, is you told everyone where the only radar ship on your team is. You just told the entire enemy team, oh, by the way, we're sending our Chapayev to sea. And now all the DDs that might have been pushing in here to cap, that you might have been able to catch by surprise. I mean, you're right next to the cap, look, it's right here. The DDs that you might have been able to catch by surprise, radar, and kill with the help of your team, all of them know you're coming now. And they know to watch out, they know to be careful. And you didn't actually do any damage at all. So what I think you greatly underestimated there was the value of your own position. Lo Yang was dumb enough to still push in. Okay, please go away, shift view. Okay, I guess we're gonna have shift view again today. Loyang was dumb enough to actually push in and show broadside. Note that North Carolina popped up on the minimap, so be prepared to dodge. Note that when the North Carolina pops up on the minimap, it means he's shooting. And if you're giving broadside to where he was last spotted, you need to keep an eye out on, whoa, where are those shells going? Are they coming my way? It seemed he wasn't actually firing at you, but keep in mind the value of the enemy not knowing where you are. Especially double click shift, double tap. Wow, that really fixed that. Wow, thank you for the great tips. Okay, for some reason these DDs are dumb enough to actually fight with you here. The Kutuzov is too far away to support, whereas you can support quite well. So this is of course an advantage for you. I don't know why your Benson is charging in though, that's not recommended. very, very risky, in fact, and he might get torped for it. You could be able to blind fire in there. Yeah, good. You're actually taking time to do it. That should be pretty good. I think you aimed a bit too high. The number one common thing people actually do when they shoot in smokes is they aim too high. Also, I would recommend zooming out. There's no need to be zoomed in as heavily as you are when you're trying to shoot people in smoke. Take the time to zoom out a bit and get a better idea of where he's actually sitting in the smoke. Use scroll wheel to zoom in. Wow. Okay, well, that really fixed it. Tapping shift and scroll wheel. Well, chat, it's almost like as if I've tried these tips and tricks that you're telling me. It's almost as if I've tried them myself and it's not fixing anything. Almost as if. But I mean, keep them coming. I totally didn't think of using my zoom in button or pressing the button that shows up on the screen. I also never considered that. Really good tips. Note that your radar is about to be ready. Potential to punish them both here. This is a very good time to radar right now. You know the Loyang is still sitting in there. Good, that should be a guaranteed kill. Switch to torpedo, switch to torpedo. Between shells in situations like this where every shot counts because you only have a couple of volleys to shoot, it's good to switch to torps between shots to get an idea of what exactly the enemy DD is doing. Because you have such a short radar that you pretty much only get 2 or 3 volleys off at most. So you really, really need to make them work. At this point though, you are capping C. The enemy Benson has been forced out thanks to your radar, so you should be able to secure this cap for yourself. You know exactly where the Benson is, you know exactly where the Kiev is, he was spotted up here, so you could actually push quite aggressively in towards the cap and help put some pressure on here, because your team needs some help. You're very split up right now, and the Hipper and Bismarck, the Bismarck is of course an idiot. Let's put that, first of all, let's make it quite simple. If there's carriers in the game, running off alone in a battleship is the absolute dumbest thing you can do. The only one who can get somewhat away with it is the NC because of the impressive AA. What the fuck is our Bismarck doing? That is actually a very good question, because he is misplaying heavily. He's making himself the dream target for any carrier. I wish I was the enemy carrier when I see Bismarck's doing this. When Bismarck split off from the team, it's like fireworks go off and I like blow up these little balloons and celebrate, because that guy is obviously a complete idiot. You never split up from your team when there's a carrier. Even if you're the NC, it's still stupid, because instead of being extremely hard for or impossible for the carrier to strike, if you split up as an NC, you're just making it fairly hard, but you can still be struck. So absolutely not recommended. Benson is in the cap. Note, the cap got contested. Don't shoot. Don't shoot. Switch back to HE. You know the DD is in here. Most likely he's right in front of you. You shouldn't be focusing on this guy. Who gives a shit? You should be focusing on the Benson. Luckily, your friendly Benson actually spots him, so you get early warning here. You could have shot there actually. You could have shot and then waited for the reload to shoot again. There's no reason. The problem here is it takes so long for the engine to render that when you see a ship about to come around the corner and if he fades away like he does there, you can still shoot. You still get the lock-on bonus and the lock-on dispersion, so you could probably have possibly even killed him there. Oh wow, defensive AA. There, I'm a bit sketchy about that, especially if the carrier is good, because he knows now that you are a potential strike target. The DD left the cap. You know he's north. I would, at this point, you know he's over here. You know he's sailing away here. It's the only way he could have gone to leave the cap. So popping radar right now and shooting him as he flees would be a good idea. I think you popped it a bit too late. Yeah, I think he's gonna get away. You popped it a bit too late. You already knew as soon as he left, as soon as the cap started, as soon as the cap stopped being contested, you could have radared, because you knew, you could deduct where he was. He couldn't have gone out this way because you would have spotted him, so he had only one path to take, which was this here. So a bit more awareness of what paths you're actually covering yourself and what paths are left available for the enemy. See, this is exactly why I didn't like you using defensive AA. The carrier noticed you used defensive AA, and now he's going for you. So premature consumable usage, because now you're forced to turn, and even if you dodge the torps, the Kutuzov will punish you. If he was better, he would have waited until you turned fully before punishing you, and he would have punished you a lot harder, but it still put you in an awkward position. Luckily, neither the carrier nor the Kutuzov played this particularly well, which is honestly more luck than anything else. Punish the Kutuzov. That's good. Making sure to angle. I like it. Might have been a bit too low there. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. He's making his absolute best effort to catch your torps though, which is quite impressive. Considering how short they are, he's still making his utmost to catch them. Good guy. They run out, unfortunately. Torping when plane spotted. It's not necessarily always the end of the world to torp when plane spotted. If you just want to make the enemy dodge, you want to disrupt the enemy. I oftentimes, even when I'm hydroed, I tend to drop torps on the ship that's hydroing me. Not because I expect the torps to kill him, but because I want him to have to dedicate resources, dedicate time and effort into dodging the torpedoes. He will dodge them, no doubt, but the time he spends trying to dodge them and maneuver and all that is time he's not spending lining up the perfect shot on me. So it's not always a bad idea. You know who's going to pop up around here. So you can actually reverse quite in peace. I would reverse all the way back here. You're not really in a hurry. Bit too early. I think you're a bit too early because now there's a potential you have to give broadside. The problem with doing this, if he was sitting here, like a smart player would be, he would be able to shoot you for free across this island. And that's why I would have preferred to reverse a bit more. He was actually sitting there, but he didn't really take advantage the way he should have. It's better if you have to give broadside to the enemy, like you had to do there because the island was blocking you. If you're forced into that position, then absolutely try to make sure you take the turn with speed. Not that you're accelerating. Because the problem with making a small reverse and accelerating is if you got plane spotted right there, you would have been caught accelerating, barely moving, and showing full broadside to the enemy, which is really, really risky. Keep shooting, keep turning, that's good. There's no point to cancel the turn at that point, especially since it would have forced you to give broadside, so committing to the turn there wasn't a bad choice at all. Okay, well you know the Atago is in the cap, and you know the Kutuzov is up here. So ideally you want to be aiming your guns this way. You know the Kutuzov has been sailing across like this, and the Kutuzov is moving this way. So while I kind of like the fact that you're trying to angle against the bombers, the problem here is I would have switched gun sides. Because regardless of if the Kutuzov is popping up here or not, even if it pops up here, the ability to turn right and shoot him would be better than being in the situation where your guns can only shoot one side. Because now you can't shoot the Atago at all. If the Atago pops up, you're in fact forced to push into that Atago's firing arcs. The Atago right here can now shoot you for free because you're forced to push into his arcs. And he opens up and he gets free broadsides. And that's why the brief time that you had there, I would have spent the time to turn my guns to the left side and instead sail up here this way. So you could deal with the Kutuzov alone. Because now you're pushing into a crossfire and it's impossible to win crossfires. Well, it's possible, but it's extremely difficult and extremely unlikely. He's just sitting there. He wants you to come to him. Because the further you push out, the more into the crossfire you end up being. So he's actually playing it quite smart. There's no reason for him to push, he waits for you to push into him, which is quite smart. He's giving you a lot of broadside like an idiot, but it doesn't really matter. Overall, like pretty solid gameplay. I actually quite liked a lot of the gameplay you did there. Mostly nitpicking, but overall, pretty good decision making overall. Some nitpicking with consumable usage, especially using the defensive AA on the fighter squad. That was a pretty big mistake that could have gotten you killed. And some perhaps more training with the smoke firing. But overall, it was a pretty solid game. Just most nitpicking things. Just the tips. Right, let's see, what do we have here? North Carolina game from... This is non-ranked. Fine, I'll do one non-ranked. And then we have a ranked Luoyang game. That one I actually kind of want to do. Let's do... Oh, we have some Amagi ranked. You just... Wait, you put them together? Can you split those links up so I can click one of them at a time instead of like putting both of them combined? Alright, which one is this? This is... Shit. Okay, I'm opening some replay. I'm not sure which one I'm opening now. I don't even know what you're trying to link, Tikan. You're saying come on. I haven't even seen your link. I'm scrolling up and I can't fucking see it. Where is it supposed to be? I can't see it anywhere in chat. Nice. Flamu, why aren't you watching the replay? I'm not linking in chat. Flamu. Discord. Flamu, why aren't you tabbing out and checking your Discord PMs instead of like doing it like for everyone else who links it in chat? Flamu, come on, man. Alright, let's see. What do we have here? This is a bit of non-rank then. Okay, only for you. Oh, right, let's see. What do we have here? J Barks, thank you for the 2 months. Much appreciated. What do we have here? Tier 10 matchmaking on Ocean. Well, if you were anything else than a battleship, this would be a huge problem. The NC, however, actually does pretty damn well on this map. You're running the full concealment build, which I recommend. Excellent, that means your concealment is 11.8, which is really competitive. And that allows you to disengage when need be quite easily. The Hakuryu of course makes life a lot harder, but generally speaking you shouldn't be the priority target for the carrier. The problem is of course tier 10 carriers can strike pretty much anything, so ideally you want to move with some AA. You have a Des Moines, double runes moving left, so probably join that team on the left. Alternatively, if you had a better spawn you could have maybe pushed with the Minotaur fairly close. That's a bit questionable though. Going this way is probably the safest choice, and joining your team this way is probably the safest choice in general. Spotter plane, that's good, especially if this Minotaur tries to do some smoke shenanigans, you can punish him. In terms of firepower, the only real threats are the Zhao, Moskva, both can burn you quite heavily. Mogami suffers heavily on this map. Yamato is the other big firepower threat that you need to keep an eye out. Minotaur, you're taking the shot, that's good. I think you need a bigger lead though. NC shells are notoriously slow. Notoriously slow. Okay, never mind. He decided to have some fun and engaging right from the start. Oh, double tapping shift actually worked for once, boys. Awesome. Now I'm stuck in... Wait, are you scroll zooming? Are you scroll zooming? Are you actually scroll zooming on my watch? I am disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted. Okay, you need to be leaving binocular view every now and then. That's important. You need to be leaving binocular view every now and then. Sitting constantly zoomed in like this is not good. Wait, I think it might be just bugged. There we go. Yeah, it was just bugged. Never mind. It looks like they made the replay system even more reliable and working than it has in the past. Thank God. I take back my harsh words. Carrier planes coming next to you, you should be turning right or turning hard left. Okay, you're turning hard left, that's okay. Not the optimal solution, but it's pretty okay. You got defense, you got AA near you, so you should be able to mitigate. Slow down, stop your ship. The reason why you want to stop your ship is to prevent yourself from gliding into additional torpedoes. You should have waited with the repair. You saw the bombers on the minimap. You saw them coming your way. So using the repair instantly is very risky. If the Hakuryu knows what he's doing, he would have waited maybe 5 seconds and then captured. Luckily for you, the Hakuryu was an idiot and he used the bombs maybe 2 seconds too early and you didn't eat any permanent fires. But if you eat a flooding and you see the bombers are coming your way, delay your repair. Flooding counts as light damage, which means it can be repaired 100% by your repair, which means there's absolutely no need to panic repair. You can eat some ticks of flooding, you can eat 10 to 15 seconds of flooding, that's fine, and then you just heal it right back up afterwards. That's much safer than getting a double or triple fire from bombers and absolutely suffering because of that. He doesn't go for you. Surprising, he should have gone for you. Once again, your damage con usage was very obvious, and if you gotten another flooding on you, it would have been a 40-second, 30-second flood. But luckily, once again, the carrier, that was more the carrier misplaying than anything else. The carrier should not have, well, first of all, going for the NC as the first target is a bit questionable, especially since the Tirpitz is spotted down here and all alone. But more importantly, he timed his strike wrong. So keep that in mind in the future. If a carrier goes for you, the most common thing is torpedo bombers go in first, torpedo bombers force your repair, and then the bombers show up right after and put fires on you. So that's something to keep in mind, and something that could have been avoided, even though you did get lucky in that sense. Bit of an unfortunate dispersion on the Bismarck. Might have been a bit too short. But that's honestly, better accuracy is something that I don't tend to comment on that much, because the best way to learn to aim, the best way to get good accuracy on your guns is just to play a lot. There's a bunch of guides on YouTube and all over. Aim like this, shoot like this, here's some tips and tricks and blah 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 blah. But ultimately, the best way to get better at aiming is to just play a lot. It really is ultimately the best way. It's one of those things that it's really hard to learn by watching someone else. You gotta do it yourself over and over and over and over again until you finalize it. Note that at this point you're actually kind of split off. I did mention you needed to regroup with your team and not get split off. And if you look at the minimap, you're actually really far away from the closest backup. And the carrier is kind of punishing you for it right now. Luckily though, you are in North Carolina, so unlike many other battleships who would probably have gotten already completely wrecked, you can kinda get away with it. Once again, bit skeptical about this super early repair. You know he's sending more planes in, why not eat a bit of extra damage? Also your heal, bit too early on the heal. You didn't really need to heal yet, you could have let the heal take a bit, you could have taken a bit more extra damage before using the heal, because you're wasting a bit of it right now. Especially since once again we could see on the minimap that the planes were coming your way. But this Hakuryu really is. On the bright side, you're acting as kind of a sponge. He's picking a really bad target. Obviously you got heavy AA spec on this NC. I mean, at least if you're running my spec, you probably got at least AFT on it. So he's kind of suffering heavily for going for you. Note, by the way, that shooting right after a carrier strike, especially when you've just gotten undetected, is not recommended. It's very much not recommended. The reasoning for this is you get spotted. And when you get spotted, everyone just saw this, you got struck. So everyone saw that you use your damage con most likely. So they will be raining down fire on you. Luckily only one guy shot you and set one fire. But worst case scenario, the Mogami, the Monarch, even the Bismarck, the Moskva. Well, the Moskva is too far away, I guess. But all of these would have opened up and they would have burned you to death. Luckily though, you kind of got away with it because they didn't punish you as hard as you potentially could have. In general, whenever you play a battleship, whenever your your repair is on cooldown, you want to play safer. You always want to play extremely safe while it's on, while you don't have it ready, because that's kind of your lifeline. It has such a long cooldown. It's something like what, 80 seconds on American battleships, and if you don't have it ready and you start picking fights with fire spamming ships, you're not gonna have a fun time. All it takes is a bit of bad luck, and ta-da, you're burning to death, and the game is over. This Mogami is not playing this smart. Oh my lord, he really wants to get devastated. Wow, that was actually pretty unfortunate. That Mogami had the best potato armor known to man. Kiting away is good though. You're giving a bit too much broadside. You don't need to be giving as much broadside as you are. The firing angles on the NC are actually excellent, so you could easily be angling. You could be angling like this instead of angling, instead of giving as much broadside as you are. Minimize the profile you give, and it's also harder to hit you if you're sailing away at an angle. You have BFT, fair enough, makes sense. Carrier comes for you again. You're starting to become the best target for the carrier though. You're still all alone in the middle of the open map. And honestly, it's only a matter of time before the carrier gets you killed. You might be losing a lot of planes here, but because of the way you position, you're such a juicy target. At this point I would probably have turned into the torpedo planes instead of turning out of them. Turning out is okay if you really can't afford turning in. But in this case I think turning in would have been better, because you eat too much damage here. Simply too much damage. Well, your plane spotted. Luckily you have your damage con. Hopefully you're spamming T right now so you can get a heal up. There we go, that's good. That might keep you alive. The carrier isn't coming to finish the task, which is very sloppy of him. I can't believe you didn't get a single flooding there. That was 4 torps and no flood. And now he's trying to come to finish the task. But I don't think he can kill you. I don't think he has any chance. No, not nearly enough. He needed a ton. He needed a pretty much perfect manual drop, I think, to be able to kill you with that health. The enemy CV is so bad. Yeah, basically, your positioning has enabled this enemy carrier to focus you constantly. And you should be dead a long time ago. But the enemy carrier is misplaying his strikes, which is kind of letting you get away with it. And that's honestly more luck. This is not a good example of how to play NC in that sense, because I said from the start you needed to find yourself with friendlies where you had AA cover. Instead you found yourself alone with the turrets next to you pretty much the entire game. And you kind of got away with it, but you kind of shouldn't have gotten away with it at all. Still better positioning in the turrets, aye, but if we start comparing ourselves to German battleship players, then we've truly hit rock bottom. Then we have truly hit the bottom of the barrel. Landing on shells. I mean, the Moskva if it sails in a straight line, sure. You should be focus firing the fighter planes and pushing into them. Help your carrier win the fighter battle. I don't think you're focus firing them. You should be focus firing the fighters right now. Because if you give your carrier air superiority, he can in return help you better against the incoming strike. Because there's going to be another strike coming. We already know there's another strike coming. Pushing towards them is, in that sense, kind of questionable because of that reason as well. You know he's about to strike you. We all know it. He's got a hard on for you. And so you know there's probably going to be an incoming squad. So do you really want to be pushing in towards him? There's the strike. Exactly as predicted. Exactly as we could have seen. You know it's coming now. You should already be turning. You should already be turning, kiting, forcing him to spend time in your AA. You're still tunnel visioning on the Moskva, still pushing in. This is almost guaranteed going to be your death. Unless he really, really messes up this drop. Okay, you're turning in. I like this better. I like this better. When there's no one who can really punish your broadside, turning in is better. But the carrier really needs to mess this up. He's not going to mess it up now. You should never cancel your turn. Okay, that was big. You should have kept going in. You should have kept turning into him. The second you cancel the turn, you become very, very easy, because it takes such a long time for your rudder to shift from one extreme all the way to the other. And during the time your rudder shifts like this, you're pretty much sailing in a straight line. So if you commit to a turn, it doesn't matter if it's towards the torps, which is better, or away from the torps, at least commit to it. Don't change mid-turn. That's just going to really screw you up. Anyway, overall, positioning. Positioning, consumable usage were the two things there. Kind of got lucky to live as long as you did. A bit like if that was a good carrier player, you would be dead. Like straight up, a good carrier player would have absolutely deleted you. Really want to sink me, huh, CV? Yeah, I mean, I understand throughout the game. He obviously had a hard-on for you, and he was throwing away a ton of planes. and the fact that he tunnel visioned so hard on you and failed to kill you gave your team a huge advantage. So in that sense, it was good for the team, but you made yourself
You're
too
not known to be a
vulnerable for no
humble
good
man,
reason.
But I wonder. I think I am actually humble. I think I'm much more
And
humble. than you understand.
Rambo99, thank you for the sub, and Rujid1, thank you for the 6-month resub. Let's see, what do we have here? We have a Lo Yang game. We have a Lo Yang game. Let's see, what do we have here? North Carolina Turpits, Bismarck, Benson said 23 Kagero. Okay, so you got pretty lucky in terms of DD power. You can kind of match almost all their DD power in terms of gun power. They have no big gunners, and the Kagero, well, he can outspot you, but thanks to your Hydra and great concealment, you can kind of force him out of caps anyways. They have no radars, they have no carriers, so you are at this point, you're probably the strongest ship on this server thanks to the matchmaking. You should be able to push into almost any cap and bully the enemy out and secure the cap with considerable ease. Big threats would be Zed23 going YOLO with the help of his team. Like he rushes you with his Hydro and then he has the Benson to help him, and with their combined firepower they kill you. Or alternatively some big NC AP hits, or alternatively you get caught in Bismarck Hydro. But if you get caught in Bismarck Hydro, you're probably misplaying to begin with, because that shouldn't happen, because that's so obvious. But we'll see how that turns out. Obviously, you want to push B, secure the cap as soon as possible, then push straight towards C right after. You probably want to take a bit of a safer route to C. You don't want to sail across like this straight into C, because the big issue with the Luoyang is, even though it's a great capture point fighter, it's a great DD duelist, a great knife fighter, in order to make use of the strengths of this ship, you're forced to blow all your consumables. You're forced to blow your smoke, and you're forced to blow your Hydro. That's the only way you actually become really strong. If you don't use your consumables, you're a Sea-Hull Benson. So even their Benson will outgun you. So if you're not using your consumables, you're not really beating the enemy in any sort of fight. So only when your smoke and Hydro are active do you become this monster. So that's why I don't like sailing across the open like this, because if you run into the enemy DDs, either you take a losing fight where you have to turn away and gunboat a bit and you trade a bunch of health that might not be a beneficial trade, or you take a safer route and then you push into the cap with Hydro and you actually become extremely useful. I'm a bit surprised you stayed here in the cap, you stopped here. I don't really understand why. Luoyang is the ultimate capture point controller. You want to be pushing capture points, you want to be leading the charge into capture points. I assume you're smoking your battleships up. You're using RPF, but RPF is obviously pointing here. The DDs are sailing across like this, like they always do. I'm not really. This feels.
You're not known to be a humble.
This feels like a
But
waste.
I
With
wonder.
the smoke
I
change,
am actually humble. I think I'm
especially,
much
this
more
feels
humble than you would
like a
understand.
huge waste. You just gave up one of the things that makes the Luoyang exceptionally
Great
good.
work.
Carthion, thank you for the 7-1. You just gave up 50% of what makes the Luoyang amazing. What makes the Luoyang amazing is the ability to smoke up and pop Hydro and be untouchable. No other DD at the same tier can push into your smoke because they will get spotted and wrecked on the way in. You just gave up half your tools, so you can no longer use that tool against the enemy. And that's a pretty damn big trade-off. And what exactly did you smoke up? Let's look behind you. Well, you smoked up a Bismarck, who was not under any threat, not under any fire, and who's now going to stop there and probably be in a horrible position to begin with. That smoke had no benefit. That smoke was a very bad smoke, honestly. Fat-fingered. You fat-fingered the smoke? Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot more sense. That happens. I can forgive that. If you're typing or whatever, you sometimes fat-fingered. That's perfectly okay. I take back my harsh criticism then. Still though, this makes it very sketchy. Once again, I'm not too sure about pushing here. You shouldn't be firing, you should be going behind the island. No, 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 you do not want to take this fight in the open. No, no, no. You know why you don't want to take this fight in the open? Because now you're spotted. And you could have been pushing behind this island, You could have been happily pushing behind his island, keeping him spotted with your Hydro while being undetected the entire time. Instead though, you got spotted by everyone. And let's hope, pray to RNG gods that the enemy team is bad. Which they appear to be, because no one is absolutely blapping you. Okay, where's the incoming? For some reason, the enemy team decided to let you get away with that. For some reason, the enemy team decided to let you get away with something you shouldn't have gotten away with. A much better choice here, when you, as soon as you saw him with the Hydro, is you keep the island between you and the Kagero, and you keep him spotted with your Hydro, and you call target on him. Pushing into the open, your force is, because that kind of trade, you risk nothing, whereas he gets wrecked. As soon as you turn into the open, you risk being wrecked as well, which is unnecessary. You have a tool that can spot without you being seen. Use it. Absolutely use it. Your DD's mates are struggling at sea because you did not push into sea. Once again, I don't know why you're not pushing into sea, but you're losing out on a lot of potential strength for the team. In fact, because of how slow their team was to support them at sea, you could probably have capped or wrecked them at sea already with the help of your Hydro. So, a lot of resources being wasted here. Also, now you no longer have Hydro. Your Hydro and smokes are desynced. So before you can actually be useful, it's going to take some significant time. Those torps can't reach. Okay, first of all, you should be running this. You see this range mod here? I don't know if you have it on, but if you have this range mod on, you should be able to tell that the circle ends here, which means those torps have almost no chance of hitting. The only chance those torps had of hitting was if it would suddenly decide to turn hard right in towards you, and there was no reason for the NC to do that. The NC wouldn't want to turn in because he's already low, or well, he's taken damage, and turning in would just leave him stuck and pretty much guaranteed killed. So there was no reason for him to turn in. It was far more likely that he was going to turn out. So keep in mind what the enemy might do, and keep in mind your ranges, because there was absolutely no reason for him to push in. Pushing in would have gotten him killed anyway. Big issue right now is your playstyle. You're kind of playing this like a Kagero. You're kind of playing your Loyang like a Kagero. The Kagero is a knife fighting specialist. It's a capture point specialist. It's the king of pushing in and taking caps. And you got the perfect matchmaking to do it as well. And instead of pushing in and contesting caps, you're kind of sailing in the open, scouting and torping. And that's what a Kagero does. Kagero is excellent at scouting. Kagero is excellent at torping constantly, because especially if you run torp reload, which is pretty questionable for ranked, but still that's the kind of play style you have in it. So I think a fundamental issue so far is you're misplaying the ship. Like, the fundamentals are being misplayed. Going for A, I mean, sure, you can. This is a pretty free cap, but can you really afford to leave your battleships completely at the mercy of the 3 DDs right now? Because that's kind of what you're doing. You're getting the cap, sure, but we know they put capped here. We know they're probably pushing through the cap as well. So we know there might be DDs around here who are freely torping your battleships right now. Can you afford this kind of trade? I mean, if we, let's go to free look, let's look. Yeah, they're torping already. You see this? You see all this? These are DDs having the time of their life. They also, by going into this cap, you told the enemy DDs, if they're paying attention to the minimap, you just told all the enemy DDs exactly where you are. So all the enemy team knows you're at A, which means they can be extremely bold in pushing in and torping these guys down here. So big issue is you're playing like you're trying to counter battleships when your job is in fact to counter DDs. Would have been okay if friendly DDs didn't suicide. I mean, you're putting Z23 and Ognaboy against Benson, Z23, potentially Kagero as well. That's not really a fair fight. And it's silly because the Loyang should absolutely have been the guy pushing into the camps. Z23 is an idiot. At this point you could slow down, smoke and pop Hydra and kill him with the Hydra usage. Now you're kind of forced to do it because of your sailing. Okay, what am I watching? Why aren't you reversing? That worked. This ended up working, but this was a pretty sloppy execution. First of all, if a DD pushes you and he's not smoking, just kite away. Just kite away from him. If he pushes you and he's not smoking, as soon as you start gunboating, just start kiting away from him. I don't think you needed to use your smoke. I don't think you needed to use your Hydra there. But because you kind of tunnel vision with the terrain, you were forced to use both because of the grounding. But okay, and now we have the issue again that you are without the tools you should have. You no longer have the very potent smoke plus Hydra combination, and that once again makes life very, very hard. No needs, don't torp yet. Why would you torp yet? Remember, Lo Yang has Benson torps. Benson torps have a huge cooldown. Huge cooldown. They have something like 2-minute cooldown. You want to make sure your torps are perfect every time you launch them. So, launching so early is not necessary. Your RPF is pointing towards North Carolina, which means the North Carolina is the only battleship they have up here. Which means you could easily have gotten significantly closer before launching your torps, ensuring that you could get the hits. So there was really no need to launch them as early as you did. I mean, look at this cooldown. Look how long it'll take you before you can launch again. And launching from this far away at an angled battleship is very hard to get hits on. It's extremely hard to actually hit him from this angle because the torps tend to spread out the further away they go, and ultimately you end up with these gaps that tend to be battleship sized. So you kind of honestly need luck to even land one torpedo, and that's the big issue here. You do get lucky and you do land one torpedo. That is good. You should be able to be finished off by the turrets here then. You should have waited until he shot. Should have waited until he shot. We haven't seen him shoot yet. Luckily he didn't shoot you. Okay, big important thing to note there. If you're about to open up on a battleship and support your teammate, if you're at the same angle as your battleship is, meaning the enemy can shoot you without changing turret traverse that much, you need to heavily keep in mind that he might shoot you instead. If that NC had been smarter, he would have probably blapped you extremely hard there. But luckily, he decided to still shoot the turrets. You're the last DD. Killing you would have been a lot better than killing the battleship. Did he actually get 2 torpedoes? Wow, that was very fortunate. Keep kiting, keep playing safe. Wait until you have Hydra up before you push. You should not be turning back in. You know the Benson is here. We've seen him move up here. Your RPF is spotting. You know there's a Benson here. You want to wait an additional 20 seconds. You want to have your knife fighting tools available when you go and fight him. You do not want to push in and fight him without your Hydra ready, because that puts you at the disadvantage. How did he get spotted so early? That Benson, questionable plays. You should have been rushing him, by the way. You need that kill. You needed that kill big time. I should absolutely have rushed him at that point. If you see him and he's that low HP, just rush him, get him killed. By the time you get close enough, you can still pop Hydra to avoid any torps. So, because now you're forced to chase him anyway. The problem is he's already gotten away, and he's most likely sailing down here to be able to torque your Bismarck friend. Once again, he had 3k health, you have what, 11k? A bit of too much pussyfooting, just like, commit. You don't have time. You do not neither have the time nor points to play safe anymore. The time for playing safe has long passed. It's time to go ham. Very questionable Hydra. Very questionable Hydra. I guess you were afraid of incoming torps around the corner. But I'm a bit sketchy about this one. Because RPF keeps pointing down here. So he's probably sailed down here. Yeah, there he is. This should be easy kill him and the Kagera. You should be turning hard right so you can rush the Kagera. Oh, Kagera died, that's fine. You should still be turning hard right so you can put an island between yourself and the battleships, because right now you're in the... there's the potential of this incoming fire. It worked out pretty okay though. Ideally, do you want... I mean, there's a potential that you might have actually been better to push like this, drop torps, and try to get the kill, because I don't know if going for the cap anymore is worth it. You do have a high chance of winning though. You do have a significant chance of winning here. The problem is they have so many points and they have double cap, and your teammate is most likely going to die. Luckily though, the turret seems to be giving them broadside, which is extremely debatable. Wow, he's really trying to throw this, isn't he? What a nice guy. Really going out of his way to throw this game. If he had been smart, he would have just nose in angled and pushed him and let this guy do all the damage. Also, your AA should be off. Press Z to toggle AA on and off. By default, your AA should always be off. The only times you should be toggling AA on is when you actually want to shoot down planes. Somehow your Bismarck is still alive, because the enemy team is failing really hard. This Bismarck here is not pushing aggressively enough, and this guy here is pushing too aggressive, which is getting him killed. So this will probably actually be a win, which is pretty hilarious, because this was not a good example of... is the default key P? Okay, I've rebounded to Z, because I hate trying to... I'm pretty sure I rebounded because P is such an awkward button to press while in combat, so I've rebounded to Z. Something I recommend as well. You don't have to rebind it to Z, but rebind it to something a bit more comfortable than P. Like, reaching P is debatable. Yeah, rush C, and this should be an easy win. You don't even need to capture C, technically. You can just sail away and you will win regardless. This game is definitively over. That Bismarck did well surviving as long as he did. Penguin Slayer, I think it was. The fact that he lived as long as he did was surprising. Not exactly sure what the enemy team did, but that works. Overall, this game does end in a victory, but honestly, I disliked a lot of decision making in this game. I disliked a lot of decision making. I think the fundamental issue this game was Loyang being played as a Kagero instead of playing it like a hyper-aggressive Benson, which is how it should be played. Right, let's check some ranked. We have some Amagi ranked. Let's check out this. Let's check out some Amagi ranked. That could be quite interesting. But yeah, a good trade there would have been have the Ognavoy sail around in the open, because the Ognavoy is pretty fast. Have the Ognavoy sail around in the open and Torp and so forth, because it can't gunboat much. And you and the Z-23 go for the cap, since you've both got Hydro and both good gunboats. What is it, TK? You asked me to open your links. The last time I checked, you spammed your link like 500 times in a row. And I don't think even the link worked, because there were no spaces between the links. And then you're like, why aren't you opening my links? Ognavoy goes 36.5 by default. Yeah, but the difference is the Ognavoy is the least useful inside the cap. The thing is, the Ognavoy is the least useful out of all of those ships in the cap, because the Ognavoy is a terrible knife fighter. It doesn't have much gunpowder, it doesn't have that good of a concealment, so it's the worst ship to send into the cap. Right, let's see. What do we have here? Lex Carrier, which is not that good for the Amagi. I mean, the Amagi AA is pretty okay, so it's not the end of the world. North Carolina, Bismarck, Amagi, Charles Martel, Kiev, Loyang. They have a Loyang. If the Loyang knows what he's doing, that will give them a huge advantage on this map. A Loyang pushing into A when you don't have anything countering it can be nasty. On the other hand, you do have a New Orleans, which is very strong on this map especially. What's the point of the Ogneboy then? Not really much. There's a reason why I don't recommend the Ogneboy. I don't recommend the Ogneboy for ranked because the Ogneboy is a bad destroyer. It doesn't have the gun power to Benson, it doesn't have the torpedo power of many others, it doesn't have that good concealment, it's not particularly fast, it's overall a very mediocre DD, and there are far better choices for tier 8 ranked. Okay, where do you want to commit? Your gun turret control right now is very questionable. It looks like you want to turn left, so I'm turning your guns to the right. Your DD, your Z23 is going to C, so ideally you should be supporting him. Your Kagero is AFK, so actually I would have wanted to see you go this way. So if your Z23 spots something, you can actually shoot it. By choosing to go left, as you are, if there's a DD fight occurs at C right now, you can't support him at all. You weren't sure where the team wanted to go. If you're not sure where the team wants to go where your DD is going. That's the most important thing. Go where your DD is going, because that's the guy you want to be helping. No, I don't want to turn easy X. Okay, looks like shift is not going to work today. Ogneboy can't gunfight Omega, that's what it comes down to. A lot of DD fights comes down to gunfights, and Ogneboy is garbage at gunfighting. Luckily, no one shows up to fight your Z23, so your positioning on the left, you kind of get away with it. Okay, shift is not going to work for us, it seems. It doesn't want to. Whatever, we'll have this pop up instead. Luckily for you, no one shows up and fight the Z23. The downside is, however, the enemy team is pushing this cap very hard, and your New Orleans, who should be pushing up to this island so he could radar it all, is... I don't know what he's doing. He's doing something special. Your Kagero is also AFK, which is of course a huge downside. At this point, you should be telling your Z23 to please not push into their spawn, because that's the worst decision he could make. Sadly, that's the decision he is making. So this is of course starting to look like the average rank fiesta, where everyone does the wrong decisions. Everyone does the wrong choices. You're sitting nose in Amagi. I don't really like this. This is how you play with an NC, this is not really how the Amagi plays. You should be angled so you can shoot all your guns. Sitting nose in like this is North Carolina playstyle. And Amagi doesn't really, it's not really suited for the Amagi because you can bring such a small percentage of your firepower to bear. An Amagi angled like this brings 40% of its guns to bear. An NC angled like this brings 66%. So it's pretty much night and day difference. Also, the Amagi has notoriously good armor when angled, so there's really no reason for you to sit the way you are right now. TZZS, thank you for the sub, much appreciated. Also, if your guns were properly pointed right now, you could be bringing all of them to bear instead of just using your front guns to shoot, which is, as mentioned, really pitiful. Okay, you need to commit. You need to either reverse full speed, get out of spotting range and turn your ship around, or you need to accelerate, but sitting still like this, of course he's gonna start... Oh, he's not striking you, really. But sitting like you are right now, you're kinda not doing anything. NO popped fighter plane, did he really? Applause, picking one of the best radar ships of the season and then not choosing radar. That is of course always impressive. Very impressive. Is there a queue for replays? Nah, I just open whichever ones I find interesting, and if it's some ship I haven't covered before, like for example the Amagi, I pick that one. Overall though, you haven't been using your firepower at all. The reason people bring Amagi to rank is because you want flexibility, you want to be able to move, actively move on the map, and you want a lot of accurate firepower. Two of those strengths are right now going down the drain. You don't have the flexibility, you're not really moving, you're sitting stationary. Second of all, you've only been using your front guns, so you're losing out on 60% of your firepower. So a lot of heavy potential is being thrown away. Also, shooting the Loyang is good. Focusing this guy, was that 4 penetrations? That's actually disgusting. Poor guy. Ideally, of course, if your guns had been pointed from the start, either or both of those DDs would already be dead. But that is, of course, some Battleship AP on DD balance that everyone knows and loves. Not really sure what this NC is doing. You want to keep going full speed, you want to keep pushing. Ideally, you want to keep pushing this way. So you can get broadside on this NC, and ultimately you want to start firing on these guys. Because if you shoot right now, you're actually giving... Oh no, he can citadel you. Very risky giving broadside to him like this. If that NC knew what he was doing, he could easily be lobbing his shells over this part of the island here, and he could be citadeling the absolute bejesus out of you. The Amagi has a turtleback. A very effective turtleback. It's especially strong in close range, but at mid to long range, it doesn't work at all. It gets penetrated. You get citadel. And right now, you're literally asking for North Carolina citadels. If that guy had any idea what he was doing, he would be citadeling the absolute shit out of you. You should be turning in time right now, so this shouldn't be citadels. But honestly, pretty damn lucky that you haven't eaten more damage than this so far. Z23 has actually made it all the way up to the Lexington, so he's actually being rewarded for his incredibly stupid push. I can only assume that none of the enemy DDs were running RPF, or the carrier wasn't actively scouting. I don't know what was going on, but he seems to actually be getting away with it, which is both hilarious and depressing at the same time. Creating distance is fine. You want to punish this NC as much as possible. He actually burned down the Lexington. Oh my lord. I'm afraid to show this on my YouTube channel now because I might be encouraging people to play like that, which would be truly tragic. Pop spotter plane, get a better angle. You could have easily shot him there. You should have popped the spotter plane to get a better angle at him, because he's not moving that fast, so you could actually have gotten shots off easily. Remember, there's a reason why the reason you bring spotter plane on ships like Amagi and North Carolina is not for the sake of range. It's to get a better perspective of things, especially when smoke shooting. But that situation there was a perfect example. Ivath, thank you for the 18 months, much appreciated. So that was a bit of a missed opportunity. I think you could have punished him quite hard. You still have the opportunity. He's still showing that frontal citadel. He's still showing that frontal citadel. I don't know if you can sit him, but you should at least be able to penetrate him. Charles Martel is doing the classic, we have a huge lead, let's rush in tactic, which is of course extremely good if you're on the losing team, if the winning team does that for you. And of course extremely frustrating when your teammates do it. Why did this Charles Martel charge in? Because he's an idiot. So that's of course very good for you. Quick Walk, thank you for the 18 months as well. That right there was a double citadel, because while killing the Charles Martel was nice and all, you also gave full broadside to the enemy Amagi. Luckily he's doing the same to you, so you have the potential to repay the favor slightly as well. Nope, he's angling. Nope, not gonna get any opportunities. Important things to take from this replay so far. The initial positioning, disagree with it. Playing stationary in an Amagi nose in, not recommended at all. More consumable usage, especially the spotter plane. Even now you could be using the spotter plane to see the battleship on the other side to better line up the shot. And what else could we? Angling. More attention to angling. You gotta remember this ship has this ship has an actual citadel, so you can't get away. You can't get away with just showing it left, right and center. New Orleans, yeah, New Orleans has radar on every hull. I don't know what you guys are talking about. That New Orleans it's a stock New Orleans, sure, but he can still slot radar. It's only the Chapayev that can't slot radar on a stock hull. The New Orleans, ever since it got the radar, it's been able to slot it on the stock hull. This volley could actually be very good, since it's giving so much broadside. Nope, not really. Unfortunate. Then again, could have been a bit of aim as well. Questioning though, I assume you're taking a very wide angle New Orleans is kind of suiciding. You know the Amagi is pushing this way. Why are you turning? You should be going this way. You know the Amagi is about to pop around this corner here. Why aren't you pushing this way so you can punish him? You want to turn your guns completely around. Okay. I can kind of see that, but you do keep in mind when you do this, you're also giving broadside to the NC that we know is still somewhere around here. So you gotta keep this in mind. You're giving potential broadside to the NC that's still right here. And I don't think you can shoot this Amagi as it comes around, because you have managed to maneuver this island between you and him. You should be popping spotter plane. You could have been shooting this NC for a long time actually. You could have been shooting him now the entire time. You could have been shooting over this island like this. Ever since you spotted him with spotter plane, you could have been shooting him. So more consumable usage. Use the spotter plane for better point of view. NC could still be getting shot at. You could still be punishing him. The DD spotted you, of course. He's sitting in B. He just capped it, so he was last seen in there, so it was very predictable he would be outrun there. Finally shots out on the NC, who's actually happily giving you broadside. How kind of. How extremely kind of him. I don't know if it was intentional that you waited until he was behind the island, or if you were lining up the perfect shot. If you were intentionally waiting until he was behind the island, that was good, because it allowed you to remain undetected. A bit low on the volley though, which is unfortunate. You should be stopping. If you slow down, you would have been able to shoot him again. And it's too late. So, well, I did mention most of the things I disliked already during that commentary, but a lot of positioning, and kind of like in the Luoyang game. In the Luoyang game, we saw someone play Luoyang like a Kagero. In this Amagi game, we saw someone play the Amagi like a North Carolina. And that's something you need to keep in mind. Right, do we still have something? In C, North Carolina. What could I have done better? Notice me, senpai. Oh shit, we're getting a lot of Harekaze ranked. That's always interesting. Can I have some pointers for Akizuki? Well, Akizuki is actually a game I've been playing, like literally, if you look at my VOD, I've been playing it in ranked a lot. In the last couple of days I played on Russia. Okay, we got a lot of them. I'll start by checking this Harekaze ranked. Since we just got an example of Luoyang ranked, well, not really an example, but a Luoyang gameplay. Let's see how Harekaze plays. Harekaze is a pretty interesting combination of Kagero and Akizuki. You want to play it as a stealthy scouter, and in general you don't want to take too many fights with it. But if you're forced to take a fight, it's actually pretty good. I think if you use the B-hull that has the 100mm guns. In case you didn't know, the Harekaze actually has the B-hull Harekaze. I'm assuming it's the B-hull that had the 100mm guns. I haven't played it in such a long time that I don't remember. But the Harekaze has the second highest DPM of all DDs at tier 8. The highest DPM is the Kabaro, not the Kabaros, the Akizuki, and the second highest is actually the Harekaze with 3 Akizuki turrets. He is ignoring. You guys do realize how many people in chat are highlighting me right now? Like, holy shit. Clearly, I don't even have. I'm not supposed to even look at my screen. I'm supposed to just be reading chat and responding. Why is there an Omni tag in the bottom right? Because Omni won the first Clan War season, so they put our tag down there. Eternal Fox, thank you for the 1,000 bits. Much appreciated. Flamu is getting spammed to hell, pretty much. Right, let's see. Matchmaking. Double Chapayev and Luoyang. That is a nasty matchmaking from the get-go. That is a nasty matchmaking because you're gonna have to struggle contesting any caps with all that firepower. On the good side, this is the kind of map where you get a free cap, and C can be contested from behind islands, which means actually spotting you will not give them that much of an advantage, because anytime you're spotted, you can maneuver yourself behind cover and you can avoid it. So the best way to play when you're playing, especially against double Chapayev, is kind of want to get an idea of when they are using their radars. You want to... Ideally, of course, your teammates would tell you Chapayev has used the radar, because that's such very important, valuable information. But you can't really rely on it in randoms. So you kind of have to time it yourself. Whenever you see a Chapayev use radar, you kind of put the timer up here. You reduce 2 minutes from your timer, and then you know when the next radar is going to happen again. And that way you can kind of play around the radars. You know when you have to be careful and when you can play aggressive, when you can shoot from smokes and when you have to disengage, and so forth. It becomes significantly harder when the enemy has double Chapayev though. Significantly harder. Also, Mogami Atago, double 10 km torp risk. Gotta keep that in mind as well. Pushing aggressively down the middle is actually a very good choice. The idea here is you push straight for C. That's actually what I want to see you do now. I would even pop speed boost and just charge to C. This smoke, I don't really know about this one. What you're basically doing right now is telling the enemy Luo Yang, oh, by the way, you should throw your torps in here, because here's a nice little target for you. And you're kind of baiting all your cruisers into going in here and eating your torps. Questionable smoke. Questionable smoke. I mean, smoke isn't as useful against this team comp, simply because they have so many ways to spot you in smoke, but still questionable smoke. It might work out, but I see no RPF. I assume you don't have the captain points for it. If you do have the captain points though, RPF on DDs is insanely valuable, especially in situations like this where you're against a single DD. Having an arrow pointing exactly where the enemy DD is a huge advantage. Spotting actively for your team, that's good. Ideally, you should be telling your team, please don't push down like idiots down this narrow little choke point. But this is ranked, people don't tend to listen. Fat fingered? I don't think was that a fat? I doubt that was a fat finger. A bit late on the speed boost, but at least you have it going now. The idea, of course, the reason why you want to use speed boost early is to reach the cap before the enemy and force the enemy be forced to push into contested. You are radared as expected. You shoot Chapayev counter radars you instantly. You're sailing in a straight line. Okay, that is very risky. I don't recommend that. I understand you want to get into the cap, but this is not worth the trade-off. This is not worth the trade-off. You actually got very lucky that you only lost a third. Well, so far only lost a third. Very lucky that you so far only lost a third of your health. If you get radared, getting into the cap is... Okay, this was so not worth it. So not worth it. Even if you get the cap, you have been chunked to such a low HP pool that the enemy Luo Yang can literally charge in, give absolutely zero shits, and rush you and kill you. And there is nothing you can do about it. Having health is huge in DD 1 vs 1s, because the one who has more health can dictate the fight. And Luo Yang already has a huge fight advantage because of his Hydro. So what you essentially just did was make it completely impossible for yourself to defend this cap. As soon as you were radared here, you should have just turned hard left and gotten away. Yes, you wouldn't have gotten the cap as fast. Yes, it would have taken you longer to go around. But getting the cap early was not worth trading 11k out of your 16k health. Absolutely not worth it. So safer play. When you're your only DD on your team, the only destroyer on your team, that puts a huge amount of pressure on you to be the scouter and the cap contester. And your health pool is more valuable than any other health pool on your team. No one else's health comes anywhere near to being as useful as yours. Also, I hate that you're pushing down. I hate that you're pushing down. I hate this. The Chapayevs are going to radar again as soon as the radar comes up. They are going to pushing for the cap and they're going to be radar. The reason for this is all your team has been spotted here. Both your battleships have been spotted here. If these guys have any sense, they realize they can push extremely aggressively and there's nothing you can do about it. And you're about to get caught big time. Turn away. Don't even shoot. Just turn away and flee. Yep. And now you're in such deep shit, it's not even funny. I hated this push-in. You need more map awareness in this case. If both your battleships are here, this means there is no battleships to prevent the enemy from rushing you. Absolutely nothing to prevent the enemy from rushing you. And if there's nothing to prevent the enemy from rushing you, they are going to be rushing you. And that was brutal. Expect the radar soon. Absolutely expect the radar soon. You shouldn't be going around. You shouldn't be showing broadside. You should be going straight north. Get the hell out. Get the hell out. The second you spot the Chapayev, he's going to spot you with a radar. Even worse, he'll proximity spot you. Get the hell out. You should not be going back into this cap. No, 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 no. No, no, this is... No, no, no. There's the radar. There's not enough syllables in the word no to explain the no-ness of the decision making that I'm witnessing here. Far too much aggression. Far too much aggression. Harekaze is already a DD that you want to play safe with, because you have such great concealment that you can just scout. You can just scout and be useful to your team by scouting. You should be much more careful with your health pool. Much more careful with your health pool. And I have no idea. Why are you still alive? I don't understand it. You should be dead. You should absolutely be dead by now. This kind of play in higher rank tiers is going to get you killed. Absolutely guaranteed going to get you killed. Lo Yang should be pushing you full speed. Once again, I don't know why you're still around. Why are you not disengaging? Get the f out of here. We spotted the Lo Yang. He's going to be pushing through this smoke. If he's any smart, he's running Hydra and charging straight through the smoke with no fear. The Chapayev, the second Chapayev is pushing in. He's probably got radar as well. You're playing with fire. There might be fighter planes that will spot you at any moment. Especially considering your team has a huge advantage. You are up 2 ships. Your team is about to cap B. What are you fighting for? What exactly are you trying to fight for? The best case scenario is you survive. That's the best case scenario of what you're doing right here. But it's more than likely that this will get you killed, and it's not worth it. There's the second radar, as I mentioned. It was only a matter of time. They were just sitting there waiting for their cooldowns, and they were gonna pop it. And you finally went down. First of all, your team is about to cap B. Your team is up 2 ships. Your teammates have gotten away perfectly fine, full health. There was no reason to stick around. Absolutely no reason. Should have absolutely bailed. You just gotten the hell out. There was no point staying there. That was completely not worth it. Your team is probably going to win this anyway. But it's going to be significantly harder because the Lo Yang will be able to scout for free and they will have no one counter spotting them. Also, the enemy Bismarck eats glue, which is of course useful for your team. But value your health more. Value your health a lot more. Way too lenient with how much health you're throwing away. Getting a capture point when you see 2 radar ships and a Lo Yang pushing, you know this cap is going to get taken again. YOLOing in and losing 11k just to get it for a few seconds or a minute is not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. So, yeah. Let's see. What else do we have here? NC. What could I have done better in this game? Well, let's see. I don't know if I've featured any NC games. How can we send replays? There should be a replay command in chat. There should be a replay command in chat. It is specific for subs though, because you need to put a link in chat. There we go. Hebisuki. Hebisuki linked it for us. I worked out watching replays. If you use mouse to zoom in and out, it lags a lot compared to shift, but in game it's pretty much equal. Interesting. Going from tier 7 to tier 8 DD is a learning curve. It is, and I mean, hydras and radars become significantly more prevalent the higher tier you get. Right. Let's turn off this. This is honestly a pretty good map for the North Carolina, because it can lob a lot of shells over these islands. That's one of the strengths of the NC. The NC trades shell velocity for great shell accuracy and these really high arcs, which allows you to abuse positions that many other battleships cannot abuse. Should I hop in stock and see? No, I'm not. I'm not playing now. Actually, commenting on a few replays. Let's see. Matchmaking. Benson Kagero. They have Kid Z23. Z23 is I don't value it too much. Benson Kagero is pretty good. Kagero, if he plays well, can be extremely potent, but debatable. They have a key, which should obviously be your primary target, simply because it's so easy to citadel. It has, I think, a 22mm citadel roof. So if you pen the broadside, you can get easy citadels because you overmatch the citadel roof, which makes it very easy to citadel, especially for the North Carolina. Extremely potent. Let's see. Double NC, Bismarck, Atago Kid, Z23. The biggest threats are honestly going to be the North Carolinas. I think the rest of them are the NC deals pretty damn well with. Your initial decision is to go left as a team. You're pushing the left flank. That's okay. Ideally, I would have loved to see one of these DDs go this way, so you have some sort of scouting of what the hell is coming down over here, and maybe push straight north before turning left. Like, is there any need really to turn left as quickly as you're doing? Couldn't you have pushed into the cap a bit more to help your team out instead? I never really like when battleships from the start instantly turn left or right. Instead, push up a bit closer, help your DDs during the initial exchange, and then start veering off to wherever it is you want to position yourself. Still though, we know where the kid is. That leaves the Z23. Oh, the key is giving broadside spotter plane. Nice, exactly what I wanted to see. You need to aim lower, you need to aim lower, lower, lower. Lower, he's turning in, so I think you wanted to aim a bit lower than that. If he's turning towards you, you want to aim even lower. It is a key that... Oh, wow, good torps. Yeah, the damage is okay. The kid actually parked in the smoke where he was last spotted, which is of course extremely debatable. Note that A is still being kept. A is still being kept, so that tells you there's another DD there. And that means you want to start paying a lot more attention to your detection. If you suddenly get detected while firing right now, there's a high chance that the DD is on this side. You need to keep that in mind. In fact, at this point, if you get spotted at any point, you want to start playing with your speed and rudder shift, because you don't know exactly where they're hiding. That's a free... Oh my lordy lord. Shh. Oh, you see, the DD is exactly where I predicted he might be. Maybe not worth wasting that shot. Maybe not worth. Maybe save the shot for the Z23. The Z23 is caught, meaning he has to move. I think you should be focusing on this right now. Z23 is forced to move. He's stuck. And you kind of want to have your guns ready for when he tries to flee the position he's stuck in. So I'm a bit skeptical about that shot. I think I would have, because what if you decided to suddenly start pushing through the gap and you wouldn't have had your shots ready because you're shooting someone else? Once again, save your shot. Those guys on the other side, they're not going anywhere. The big thing, the big focus right now should be this DD. This DD should be the big focus. It's finally getting your full attention, which is good. Because a DD at this close range might seem like an easy kill, but he can still get a trade kill. He can still get a trade kill in return if he lands his torps on someone. So trying to delete him is quite valuable. In fact, he's probably trying to torp Tirpitz. Tirpitz is turning away, it seems. And the classic overpens. The Z23 is not playing this well. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He got caught there. He got completely stuck in that position and he should be a free kill now. You're using C to switch point of view between turrets. That's always good. He finally goes down and now we can switch targets. The key really wants to get killed, giving as much broadside as he possibly can. That will probably be a citadel because, as I said, Key is extremely vulnerable to citadels. Extremely vulnerable. Wow, not a single cit. I guess you landed a bit too far in the back. Not sir is not sir. Yeah, it's not NO. Pushing through the gap. Actually, it's not that big of a risk anymore. You could easily poke your nose in through this gap and get a new firing angle on them. I actually quite like this move. It's probably what I would have done myself here, because it's actually very safe because they no longer have any destroyers, so there's no torpedo threat, and a nose in NC is notoriously difficult to kill. So parking nose into this gap is actually a very good decision, and I like it. It's going to be nasty for them to deal with it. They're going to have to expend a lot of effort, and it's a new angle they have to focus on. Ideally, your team should be pushing hard either here. I would love to see one guy go back here, and you would create this three-pronged crossfire, but that's probably expecting a bit too much from random players, understanding that kind of thing. Focus fire the fighter plane, help your DDs out. Their torpedoes won't get spotted if you shoot it down. Okay, you want to be slowing down. Okay, you want to be slowing down. Slowing down. Okay, you're pushing too deep. I'm heavily... The further in you push, the less I like this position. Heavily disliking it now. Okay, too fucking deep. See, I like this position. Right here. You sit next to this island and you shoot, and if you get a lot of focus, you can easily reverse back into cover. That's a great position. You're going too deep. You're going way too deep, because now they can rush you. Now you are a rushable target. Also, they can get your this NC down here. If he keeps pushing, he'll get your broadside. The Atago gets 3 shots from here. The Atago, which could have gotten blocked by the islands, is now able to shoot you. Too deep. That's what she said. But way too fucking deep. This is way more than just the tip. You are lying to the poor girl. And now you're getting... Now you're kind of screwed. And now you're gonna have to reverse. So, a very sketchy positioning. Yeah, Kagero shouldn't have gone. Kagero should never go that close to Bismarck to begin with. But you should be reversing. I don't know why you're still pushing. Full reverse, please. Why are you still pushing up? This is a Bismarck. I do not like this. You should be reversing. Let them push into you. Let them push into a crossfire. The further in they push, the more they get crossfired. You should be going full reverse. If the Bismarck was smart, he would rush you. He would rush full speed like this, and he would blap your Citadel for free. Key, it's Citadel, of course, as expected. Reverse, reverse, no, I don't like this. Even if this works, I hate this. I hate this. Worst, the Bismarck can ram you as well. You gotta keep that in mind. The Bismarck might go for the ram because you're full HP and he's almost dead. And getting a ram would actually be a really good trade for him. And that's exactly what he's doing. Yeah. That was a bad trade for you. That was a terrible trade for your team. That was a great trade for the Bismarck, because he was almost guaranteed dead. And they just got rid of the crossfire. Now they're gonna be able... Now, earlier they had a crossfire. These guys shoot from here, and you shoot from here. Perfect crossfire. They just got rid of the crossfire, which was excellent for them. So, no. This, just holding this position here would have been much better. I didn't have a choice and couldn't avoid his ram. That's because you were too deep to begin with, and you should never have pushed past this choke here. Never have pushed past this choke. This position was excellent. This position was awful. That's how small the difference is. Because when you're in this position and they try to rush you like this, you just keep reversing. And they have to chase across this entire thing here, and your teammates can just farm them on the way in. Your teammates can torp them on the way in. They go into a killing field if they try to rush you. But you kind of made life easy for them. And now they managed to get the Benson kill as well, and there's actually a high chance that you might lose this game, mostly because you pushed too deep there. Back up. True. Yeah, I mean, he understands the mistake, but still, it's worth pointing out for anyone who didn't understand. This position was excellent, this was not. Especially since you had an advantage. You had a huge camp advantage, you had, I think, a ship advantage. There was no reason to push in. When you have a lead and you push in, the only thing you can hope, the thing you're most likely to achieve is a loss. That's the thing you're most likely to achieve, a loss, not a victory. Right, that was